Hey everybody, it's Jazz again, and I'm going to take you through my online course, Fundamentals of Accounting. So as you can see, I've had some fun with this, with these colored tabs, and the funky picture you're going to see below. So my students are continuing education students, they're adult learners. So they come into school, or back to school, I should say, quite focused. So I don't have to worry too much about um, having them lose focus or anything like that. So I can have some fun with that. It's a 12-week course. There's no prerequisites, and I mentioned here there's a video below, and then there's also a Padlet board where students will introduce themselves. So here's the first picture I've kind of put into the course. The students see off the bat. It's just kind of something funny, something to make them smile as they start the course. The first thing students do in my course is watch a welcome video from me. In this video, I tell students what the course is all about. I encourage them to get engaged with each other and enjoy the course. I also am wearing an SFU sweatshirt in my course, in my video, I should say, because I just want students to identify myself as an alumnus, and students feel that added connection with the instructor. We have a Padlet board. So I have some guiding questions that students can follow. I also have a video where students can look at if they're not familiar with Padlet. So you can see there's a shelf format. I have a bunch of headings already set up here, and students will typically post twice per module on the Padlet board, at least twice, right? So we're starting with introductions here. With the first one, I guess that's the exception. You only post once for introduction. But before you start module 1, you post again, sharing your accounting knowledge. So I kind of introduced myself here. I have a picture of myself, right? And below I have Bryce has posted, my learning partner. So thank you, Bryce. Looking good, Bryce. So I use Padlet. I'm a believer in Padlet. It's quite a cool collaborative tool. I have a course map here, which kind of designed for visual learners to kind of see how the course looked like. So you start here. If you're having some technical issues, you can ask for help, right? Because that's important in an online environment. You can see here we have 4 modules, which we're going to go through. Each module is 2 weeks. We're going to midterm exam. We're going to have a group project and final exam. We're going to have a wrap-up week where everything is due. You can see here each of the modules will include assignments and quizzes, and these will be marked for completion as shown here in the course syllabus, right? So we have a course overview. We're going to go through the accounting cycle. The course objective, this is the accounting cycle basically broken up into little pieces. The exception here is where you're doing some case analysis and putting together a professional business report, right? So that's the final project. The grading schema, so like I said, the assignments marked for completion, quizzes marked for completion. There'll be a self-assessment by learners on how well they're engaging in the course. There'll be a midterm exam, there's a group project, and there's a final exam, right? So as you go through this, I have a schedule. I talk a little bit about each assessment. There's a lot more information I could give students, but I don't want to overwhelm them in the syllabus. So I give them just enough to keep them interested. And then there's also a technology support section here, right? So if students are struggling with Padlet or Kahoot, there are links right here. But it's also I encourage them to get involved in the discussion board and contact me directly. So there's lots of support available for students. I communicate that clearly. And then this forum, which I encourage students to get involved in, is kind of optional. So they don't have to use the forum, but it's a resource for them. I've got a bunch of things set up here for different modules, the midterm, coffee shop. So students can get in here and they can ask questions. They can share resources. That's all encouraged. We have a welcome quiz with Kahoot, just for students to practice and kind of test their knowledge on all the stuff in this module. If you haven't used Kahoot before, it's a really good learning tool. I really like it. This is actually set up as a challenge. So Kahoot can be live. It can be interactive when students are all entering answers on their phones together. But it can also be in a challenge format where I just left the quiz open. Students click on the link, they enter their name, and they go ahead and take the quiz, right? And they get a score, and it's kind of fun. But it can be used in different ways, so it's a pretty good learning tool. Let's go into Module 1 here, Intro to Accounting. We'll go through this one quickly. We'll go into the next one in detail. So I have an introductory video for every module, as you saw in the welcome module. Padlet board again, already set up for them to post some of their accounting knowledge. And I have a read section. So these read sections are not necessarily all reading. There's actually quite a bit of activity going on. So we'll see that in the following module. I have added a brochure from CPA, basically talking about ethics and what accountants deal with on that side of the business. So I always find that having an external resource coming in, it helps add credibility to the course, and also encourage the student to continue looking outside for knowledge, not just relying on me. Now the Kahoot quiz and assignment. So these assignments again are marked for completion, but it's a good way for students to get feedback on kind of reflect on what they've been doing. So let's look at this one, T accounts, in more detail here, right? So this is the module right before the midterm exam. So here I talk about kind of like a bridge from the last module into this one, right? So we're going to put things into practice with T account. Students are going to learn all about debits and credits, and this will help students. The debit and credit system will help students update their T accounts, and in turn, the T account will help students produce financial statements, right? So it kind of ties everything together, right? And now in the big, and I also preview what else is coming up, which students have already seen, module, video, Padlet, readings. They've already seen that. But I tie in the big picture here with this diagram. There's not only visual, it not only adds some color to the web page, it also tells students that there's a big process going on, right? So T account and financial statement, you can kind of see that, right, in some of these steps here. So that's a reminder for students that we are going through the accounting cycle. This is what it looks like, and we're kind of starting the process here. Once again, I have a welcome video. I shot this one outside, so I try to change my location sometimes just to keep students interested. I have the Padlet board again. Students will post before and after this module. And let's look at this one where it says read the debit and credit system. So I've had some background knowledge here, right? But there's a lot more than reading going on in these web pages. So for example, once students are done reading, they kind of reflect and test their own knowledge, right? So it's a self-assessment where they can just do a quick quiz just to see what they've understood and what they still need to work on, right? So they answer these questions, and assuming that they get them all right, they feel confident that they're done well. So this quiz is actually from Interact. If you haven't used it, I find it very friendly. It doesn't look the best in a web page, but you can embed it, so it looks pretty cool. This here is called an Ed Puzzle, another great learning tool I like, where you can basically take a YouTube video and add questions to it. So this is an Ed Puzzle I borrowed from somebody else, right? I've embedded in my course. Students watch the video, and every now and then the video pauses and a bunch of questions come up. And students are able to answer the question, and they keep watching the video, right? So it's a really cool learning tool. Check it out if you haven't heard of it, Ed Puzzle. At the bottom here, I have one more Interact quiz. Let's look at one more section really quickly, the T account section. So here I have a bunch of directions on how to make T accounts. And then here I have a bunch of transactions, which I ask students to post to T account. And I have a video of myself here solving that question. So basically what students can do, they can sit down with a piece of paper, try the question, and then look at my video for answers. Or they can just follow along with the video. If they prefer to learn that way, they can start the video and work as I go through the video. So that's one interesting learning approach, which I like to use in accounting. We have another Kahoot quiz for this module. We have assignment number 2 here, just basically a PDF file, which students can work on and submit for feedback, but they'll be marked for completion. So here you can see T accounts again, and here you can see making financial statements, right? So income statement, balance sheet. So they pretty much practice what they've learned in the module. Finally, I have the midterm exam prep folder, so students can look at the guide for their upcoming midterm next week, what they should focus on, and then they can also look at some questions, what they can use for practice. So the guide basically just tells them this is what you expect from your exam, this is when you will write, and this is what you should do to prepare, right? So that's my course. Just to wrap up, to answer some questions, assessment strategy, you kind of saw there's formative assessment along the way with mini quizzes, more formal quizzes, assignments, and find a summative assessment with the exam. Most difficult thing to build in my course, I felt the most difficult thing for me was just finding the right format to properly show the accounting cycle step by step. But I think I managed to do that well at the end. My skill, what impressed me, I felt like I did a good job of creating an actual online course, not something that transitioned from face-to-face to online. That was important to me. And that kind of ties into the next question, what I felt at the beginning of the program. I felt that maybe having face-to-face transition to online was the best way to go. But now I kind of think that the online experience is something that you should really develop on your own, like as a separate thing where your students are engaged and they go through the learning experience together. Don't try to emulate the face-to-face thing too much. And how do your thinking change as an e-learning designer developer in taking this program? I used to think that online courses were always better, but I realize now that the reason why I felt that way because I've taken some great online courses in the PIDP, right? So it's only good if you do a good job of planning and preparing and creating a good environment for your students. So that's very important. That's all. Thanks for listening and watching. Later for now.